Thank you everyone for coming. I'm Dimitri Damascus. I'm the co-CEO and co-founder of PROFILEmiami, and I'd like to introduce Katya Domina, and welcome to the Profile Design Summit.
Thank you. Hello everyone and welcome. Thank you so much for coming tonight to our first annual Design Summit. We are so grateful to Eichholtz Gallery for having us in their beautiful 17,000 square foot showroom. Please check out the second floor, and they have a rooftop upstairs as well where we will be having a special cocktail very soon. Thank you to all of our wonderful sponsors today. Thank you AGB Construction and Stone. They're over there serving us spanakopita and a Serdico from their homeland Greece tonight. Thank you Modern Stones. They brought us the wonderful jamon iberico that we've been enjoying tonight. Yes, give it up for them. Thank you Pura Vida for providing light bites and empanadas. Thank you Brugal Rum. They have 3 of their beautiful signature drinks on display for us tonight. Thank you Zeroe Plant Based Caviar. Thank you again Eichholtz for having us. Thank you ArtLife. They have some Warhols, Jeff Koons, and a couple other artists on display in the corner over here. Thank you to the University of Miami, Miami Herbert Business School, my hometown. How do you say that? What is it? Alma mater. Thank you. And thank you Quartzology and 11 Vodka. And now I'd like to introduce our panelists. We have Will Meyer of Meyer Davis. He's known for a global portfolio of residential, hospitality, restaurant projects. We've been fortunate enough to work with him in the past. I'd like to introduce Ralph Chofe, who's known for his tropical modern designs based here in Miami. Louis Birdman of 1000 Group. I'm sure you all know 1000 Museum as well as Villa Residences. And I don't think I even need to make an introduction for Kobe Karp.
So should I start?
Feel free.
So first of all, thank you everybody for being here this evening. This is a beautiful, beautiful showroom on a beautiful corner in a design district. And the owner would like you all to please place your purchase orders before you leave tonight. She's from Holland, so we want, there she is. Thank you so much. Thank you, Gabi. So I would like to start it off and just take a minute. And the people who are sitting here have been in the design real estate for quite a while. And I'll give you an example. Some of you may know in Miami Beach the One Hotel. So the One Hotel in Miami Beach was actually done by...
Well, thank you, Kobe. It was a group effort, a team effort.
You're the leader.
Well, our teams worked together, I would say, tirelessly. I think the gray hair on both of our heads was caused by that project, potentially. But it was an amazing project and fun.
And so we did the One Hotel together. And I'm just giving you a perspective why, because the reason we're all here together is that sometimes as we go through life, people say, oh my God, it's the best economy, it's post-COVID, and they forget what it was a year before and they forget what it is now. And I'll give you an example. This gentleman right here, Ralph.
That's my name.
Ralph here does more single-family homes, luxury single-family homes, than anybody else I know. Right, Ralph? Go ahead.
That's correct. We do tropical modern architecture. Single-family homes for the people that want to move to South Florida or live in South Florida and they want the luxury. That's our specialty, and we're happy to do it. This is what our specialty is.
He's being humble.
I am being humble. I mean, I'm the best at what I do.
He is the best. And really, you're not the best. as
Well,
Mis-
second best, I'm sorry.
No, Mr. Birdman will tell you that the best designer architect is his favorite, who's a lot of ours favorite, Zaha Hadid, who's a genius by her own right. And King Louis, as I like to call him, Louis Birdman, brought her here, and it's with great pleasure. And I met her because while I was working on the surf club in 2012, she is a dear friend of Nadim. And that's when we got to talk about some of her ideas about the building, which she wanted very curvy and feminine, and yet it is very straight-edged. But I want to thank you for bringing Zaha here. And at least we have one building by her, which, yes, unfortunately. But I'll tell you what, because King Louis was going to tell me about Zaha Hadid. And I want to hear the story because he's a very well-known architect on his own right. But I want to hear, how did you meet Zaha? How did you bring her here? What was the thought process?
So when we brought Zaha here, which was back in around 2012, 2013, when you met her, we actually wanted to hire an architect to do a building on what we thought was a very, very important site in Miami, downtown. And we actually wanted to hire, you know, someone of world renowned, and Zaha was at the top of our list. And to be honest, we had no idea if she would even work with us, if she had any interest in doing a building in Miami. And as luck would have it, through a mutual person that we knew, we reached out through him, and he got in touch with Zaha, and we had told her about where we wanted to do this building and that we were interested in hiring her to do the building. And she immediately knew the site because what a lot of people don't know is the museum that's right across, that was ultimately done by Grimshaw, was supposed to be done by Zaha. So Zaha, if you've ever met her, she's a very, very strong personality. And she's it was very opinionated about a lot of things. And she felt that it was a real snub that she didn't get that museum. So she was immediately interested in doing the building. I don't think because she wanted to work with us. I think because she wanted to have a building that was looking down on the museum that she didn't get. And that was her way of, you know, basically kind of giving her counterpart the middle finger, so to speak, because if you look at the building, it is kind of it was what we call the missing tooth or the middle finger of the Biscayne Wall. It was the building right in the middle that was where the gas station was, if you all remember. So the good news was we got to bring Zaha here, and you know, she did this amazing project that's really become like a building that people recognize when they think of Miami. Like many other cities, there's like a building where people say, oh, that's the building that's in, you know, Dubai, or that's the building that's in New York. So the Zaha building, which a lot of people refer to it as, they don't even call it 1000 Museum, has become one of those buildings. And we hate to use the word iconic because it's so overused, but it's become, you know, that building that people recognize for Miami. So, you know, and obviously the unfortunate part was she didn't live to see the building completed. She was there to see the building get started. And, you know, I guess the bad news is everyone had to go a little bit further to get gas downtown, because that was the last gas station in downtown. And we're working on another site around here, which is kind of like the last gas station in this area, too. So, sorry for taking the gas stations away.
No, tell us what you're working on. Tell us.
Right now we're working on a project called Villa Miami, which is actually on 29th Street in Edgewater. It's a development that we're doing in partnership with the Tura Group and Major Food Group. It's going to be the first Major Food Group branded project that's going to be done, you know, by them and in Miami. And then we're working on another project pretty close to here, right on the corner of 36th and Biscayne, which is another gas station, where we're looking to do an office mixed-use type building, but that'll come a little bit later. Villa will come first.
Yeah, Kevin came by and was talking to me about that, and it's interesting. because I do believe that people like you who brought Zaha to that location changes the composure of the neighborhood. Will, tell me, what do you guys have going on in Miami? Why are you here? You know, we want to hear, because let me tell you why it's a special night tonight, right? Just like Zaha is a tough woman like he is describing, tonight, you know, Dimitri has put these events, but the real reason I'm here tonight is because his mom is here. and you know, that's the main reason we're all here, right? I mean, I don't know your other kids, but with that one, you did a phenomenal job. Go ahead.
Well done, yes. So with that lead in, no, we're I think the reason why we're here, you know, talking about design tonight and the projects we're involved in here in Miami have been, you know, we started off with the one hotel years ago with Kobe and that group, and now currently we're doing a building in Brickell for Baccarat Tower that's just starting up here, and a really amazing project. We're finishing the Mr. C project in Coconut Grove, which will be done very soon, and we're starting a new project with Mr. C and Terra Group up in West Palm Beach. But this working here in this rich environment of curious, incredible visionaries in terms of the developers and amazing designers and architects really putting their, you know, fingerprint on this city. It's almost like an arms race of amazing design here, and it's like Kobe was saying back when we started the one hotel. If you look at where things were then and where things are now, it's incredible. And
are you doing anything south of 5th Street interesting these days?
We're actually working on a little project together with you. We're bringing a restaurant. Philippe Chow will be down there. More to come.
More to come. But, you know, all these people who do come here, they're still looking for little houses, little pink houses for you and me to live in. And so Ralph here has, Ralph, you want to tell them about some of the houses you have going on?
I want to know what the hell I'm doing up here.
They came here, all these women screaming in the background. It's for their favorite Cuban architect. They want to hear about you, Ralph. Tell them, please.
Okay, so I'm originally, I was born in Cuba, but I grew up in Brooklyn, in New York City. Went to Pratt Institute in New York. And as soon as I graduated Pratt in 1978, I moved to Miami and got licensed in 1983, started my practice then. And you know, when you start a practice, you do what you have to do to feed yourself and feed your family. As the years went on, everybody needs their big break. I got my big break from a developer here in Miami Beach about 20 some odd years ago to do my first modern home. And in Pratt, we studied modern architecture because we had roots, and the basis of our studies were the Bauhaus with Walter Gropius and Mies van der Rohe. I am keen to Richard Neutra, probably my favorite architect, and he does, of course, mid-century modern homes. So we picked up on the mid-century modern concept and started adapting it to what Miami could be and what Miami is, which is basically wide open sliding glass doors, reflecting ponds, Zen water features, making the sides of the home interesting with little niches for water features, and again, gardens. What are you doing, Kobe?
I'm making faces at Botero, who's taking pictures over there.
Anyway, so that's the roots of, and I
Come on, tell them the truth. Tell them what you're working on right now on North Bay Road and all the sexy houses that are selling for $80 million. Give them the spiel. Come on, Ralphie, spill it out. Don't make me force it.
So our homes have actually sold for the highest prices per square foot wherever they've gone. Recently, it's been Bay Harbor. Right now, we have a house for sale for $75 million on Miami Beach. and soon to be a house for $100 million in Palm Beach area. So again, we're very proud of the work we do. Everything looks different, and there aren't two homes that look alike. They may have similar features, but they don't look alike, and we adapt to the lifestyle of Miami, and we give people the Miami lifestyle, the subtropical lifestyle, and we're very proud of it because we combined our creativity with client needs, and hopefully we have a successful product at the end. So yes, we're proud of what we do.
King Louis, tell me how the sales are going for you on Biscayne Bay. Tell me what's happening there and what makes you special. Yeah, because I know when I speak to your dad, he thinks you're the king.
Look, Villa's been going very well. It's a very unique project. Well, you know, we started doing a number of years ago, and I have some other partners that were involved in some other projects here in Miami that some of you probably know, like Four Seasons, Regalia, and a few other projects that are notable. But what we started, kind of a little bit of a trend with when we were doing 1000, was basically creating these, you know, homes or villas in the sky. You know, most of the condominium projects that were being developed in Miami, you know, were probably, the majority of the units were sub 2,000 square feet. So when we did 1,000, the smallest units there were close to 5,000 feet. Everyone thought we were out of our mind. And we had units that were 10,000 square feet. People thought we were really out of our mind. And what ended up happening here, and the trend almost started before the pandemic, and then after the pandemic, it kind of accelerated. People from all over again started coming to Miami. Miami's always been one of these places that people have come to, you know, from all parts of the world, all different parts of the United States, Latin America, Europe, all these different places. At different times, you know, throughout sort of modern history, when there's been crises in other areas, you know, the U.S. has always been like one of these places where there's been this like flight to safety and flight to quality. And Miami has been one of these places that historically, when you look at it, has been a place that I would say, of a lot of the places in the United States that people want to be, I think Miami, and I hope all the people here agree with me, is like the most accepting place of any other city.
I'll take you a step further. Miami is a very interesting location. Watch this. How many people were not born in Miami? And so when they talk about immigration, legal or not, this is the reason why people are here. I mean, you have an Eichholtz bag here. Inside it, you have Zeroe Caviar. Where is she? Where's the owner? Is she here? Where are you? I can't see you. Tell us about Zeroe Caviar. Now, she is a spicy pepper, very smart. Where are you, Miss Simpkins? I can't see you, and I don't want to hear you. Come over here. And I'll tell you why it's important. She was born here, and just like Eichholtz Gallery is originally from Holland, and you have 11 Vodka, that's also by Nikki, right? There she is, thank you. This city is run by women who create the businesses that we then all benefit from. Again, thank you so much. And these showrooms, right? Imagine in our sales office, the purpose of our meeting here is that we take these furniture as they are, put them in our model units, put them in our sales offices, so people can come in and really see what the design of Miami is inside and out. Ms. Simpkins, her father and mother and I grew up together. But it's such a great pleasure to see multi-generational women taking charge and making businesses that make a lot of money. Here, this one right here, 11 Vodka, right? I mean, Nikki Simpkins went to NMB High School, right? It's a regular public high school, and she kicks ass. The purpose of this discussion here that we're all here are together is that Miami is the force to be reckoned with. And what's happening right now is we're just doing a few little projects in Miami. We're doing the Four Seasons and Surf side. We're doing the Four Seasons Fort Lauderdale. We're doing Legacy Miami World Center, Celine in Fort Lauderdale. We're doing in Bay Harbor 4 or 5 projects. But we don't have enough product to provide to all the buyers who want to buy. Because as you saw, everybody in this room raised their little hand. And you all have friends or family or boyfriends or partners that come along with you. So this is just a litmus test of where we are going. So a showroom like this is a prelude of a whole development that Craig Robbins put here. And I remember when he was doing it with your friend Zaha, people were laughing at him. And look where he is today. The opportunities here are greater than anybody else. So I'm looking at this gentleman who works very hard. What's his name? Musa, from Turkey. They're an engineering company. All day long, we don't have enough product to sell. And the reason that we're all sitting here together, the reason I'm here today, not only to see Mr. Damascus' mom, but to really have you all share our thought process, that as we go, I've been here since 1988. I came from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I studied architecture in a state school called University of Minnesota, and I came here because we had no work in Florida. We had no work in Florida because there was no financing. All these people that you see around here providing financing, we had money. Our money was, as you saw in the movie lately, by Griselda. It was all cocaine. I grew up with those cocaine cowboys. I would go to the club at night. I was a good-looking 25-year-old guy, and they'd say, "¿Quieres cerveza?" Yes, that was my Spanish. But the guy standing next to me spoke my home words, which was Hebrew. I was born in Israel. They finished the army. The Colombians can only get it to Miami. They couldn't get it through the rest of the states. So they got a bunch of Israelis who can drive it through their Camaros, through the rest of the United States. This is Miami. What it was in 1988 is not what it is now. It's completely different. She is a product of our family. She is a product of Holland. She has big, huge, as Louis Sunshine would say, stainless steel balls, Kobe, to make this happen. And they're going to make a future here for themselves because there's a big demand. The reason I'm here hosting this, and you saw it, Ralph and I grew up together. We've known each other for decades. He has the best one of the best interior design companies in all of New York. You should Google it, you should search it out. For Barry Sternlicht, who made the One Hotel, the first One Hotel, for him to use Will, it is a huge step forward. You have to understand that the Roni Plaza, through its trials and tribulations, became the One Hotel with the rooftop pool. It can only happen here. The most successful hotel, One Hotel, the Barry has, is right here in Miami Beach. We are on the cutting edge for the rest of the world. Many of you come from Turkey, or you come from Greece, you come from the Middle East or the Far East. Makes no difference where you come from. The bottom line is Miami, South Florida, I believe, is a springboard for the rest of the world. The more people we have here, as you saw, that are not from the United States of America, the stronger we become. And that is the reason I'm sitting here, and that is really the reason we're all sitting here. We have a little gray hair, as he said, but the decades that are upon us are wear and tear in the real estate. So that's why I stopped him talking about Zaha. Zaha was a dear friend. Regretfully, she passed away. And she was also very, very, very tough and smoked cigarettes. And Tara Bernard from England, you know, same thing. You're dealing with tough people who go through the trials and tribulations of life. I'm just looking here in my office. I have people here for my office. Just raise your hand, right? There's half a dozen of them here. Each of one of them are not from Florida. None of them were born in Florida. One Colombia, one Argentina. That's it. But that's what we're about. And so sorry to give you this long monologue, but I wanted to say that because that's our business and that's how we all make a living. That's how we enjoy it and make money. Go ahead, Will. You're next up. Tell us.
Next. No, I think to kind of, Kobe, that was very interesting. I think from our perspective, because we work on brands and hotels and residences globally, from towers in Sydney, Australia, to the Middle East, Dubai, Europe. We're seeing this convergence of luxury, and I would say especially residential luxury that's informed by hospitality luxury, really taking root here in Miami. I feel like that's an interesting inflection point where we see the people that love visiting hotels in one part of the world actually wanting to live like that in their residences in other parts of the world, and there's sort of there's a global sense of luxury that I feel like Miami is the tip of the spear of what that is all about. And it's really fun to work here because there's what I mentioned before, this adventurous sense of where it might go next. And I think if all you really need to do is look around, and you can see it happening right here in Miami in front of us all. So,
and also, he's pushing me on the side here. Let's open it up for Q&A, because I think some people have some questions that they want to ask you. I interrupted that gentleman before when he was screaming and yelling. So I'm sure that there's a few individuals here who would like to ask some questions from us. Thank you. Yes, please.
This is a question for Mr. Birdman. So, with respect to Villa, we're just down the street at Missoni Bahia, and we bought down there well before the pandemic, when it was a hole in the ground, and people thought we were crazy buying in Edgewater, and suddenly, all of a sudden, there are now about 5 buildings going up between Aria on the south and you guys on the north. And my question is, when it comes to development, particularly branded development with Major Food and Missoni and all the other fashion houses that are now sponsoring residential development, how important is one building going up in a neighborhood that's successful, that then spawns more people to follow? When you did Villa, did you realize that Edgewater was the next great place because a couple of buildings had gone up and been successful?
Yeah, I mean, we've had our eyes on Edgewater for a while, and as you know, there's a lot of existing condominium buildings there. Some are aging, some aren't really that old. Some were built 10, 15 years ago, so they're relatively new. So there's not really a lot of sites available in Edgewater. It's especially right on the water. So, I mean, the property where Villa's going, we actually, even though it's a very small property, in terms of its footprint, we had a building we had to buy out that had 15 residents in it. We had another building that had 5 units next to it, and then we had 3 more lots in there. So we had to deal with, 26 people, to be able to put together not even an acre of land. Okay, so it's not easy. It's a difficult task, and we like to do large-scale boutique projects, if you know what I mean. Like our business model is not to build a 200-300 unit building. We like to build large units, limited number of units, in a very compact footprint. So Edgewater is an area we've had, our eye on for a while, and one of my other partners involved in the project was actually involved very early on in Edgewater. He was involved in the Paramount Bay project, which at the time was sort of the kind of the first entry into sort of luxury condo product in the market, and then it came at a time when the market had a downturn. Miami, like a lot of places, is very cyclical, but I always tell people, I've been here longer than Ralph, actually. I've been here since 1976. So I've seen a lot, of change. And it's all been, I think, positive change. Like, I remember the days that, you were talking about in the 80s, and, people ask me, like, what was it like living in Miami in the 80s? And I always give people the same answer. I was like, you ever see the movie Scarface? People are like, yeah, like, it was like that, okay? That was even before Miami Vice. So Miami's changed a lot, and it's I think been for the positive. I could live probably anywhere. There's no place I'd rather live than in South Florida. You know, I'm a big cheerleader for South Florida. I always have been. So Edgewater is an area that we've kind of looked at on the downtown, on the mainland part of Miami, as the beach, you know, the waterfront of the downtown. And when you look what Craig's done here in the design district, I mean, it's amazing what's happened. And if you just think back just 5 years ago, you would not have expected this to be going on, right? Like, if you looked at the design district 5 years ago, you could have looked at it and say, hey, this could go either way. You know, this could maybe work, or it could be an unmitigated disaster, right? Because the design district, I remember going back a long time ago when the design district was once before a design district, right? And you know, it was a great place to be. There was all kinds of commerce and activity going here, and then it fell off the cliff. So I think we're in really exciting times. Miami has truly, and I've been saying this for many years, that it was happening, and now I can really sit here and say, you know, truthfully and believe what I say, that Miami has really truly become a global city. It's all around the world, people's eyes are on Miami. And once again, domestically, you've got people who traditionally wouldn't think about living in Miami that have already moved to Miami, from Silicon Valley, from Southern California, you know, from the Midwest, from the Northeast, from, you know, it's not just a gateway from Latin America, you know. So, I mean, we're in really exciting times, and I think for all, you know, I'm assuming a lot of people here are in design and related businesses. It's a really exciting time, I think, for everyone.
Thank you very much.
Yes, my name is Claudia. I wanted to ask you guys, well, all the buildings are going on right now. Being an architect and designers, what makes a building different? For example, Zaha Hadid. But why is most of the buildings look like alike, the same kind of things right now? Like the same kind of architecture I see a lot. I see a lot of buildings with just windows, and that's it. You know, it's like, I want to see something different. Are you guys planning, like, I know Villa, Miami, very interesting, but I'm tired of seeing buildings just like windows.
I'll start the answering on that. So the architects want to be very creative, and we would like to show creativity in the buildings that we're doing by different angles, different heights, planters, whatever it takes, holes in the buildings. But we're in conflict with the developer, because the developer wants to maximize the square footage so they can maximize their investment. So there lies the conundrum. What do we design for? So the architect needs to satisfy the builder. At the same time, he wants to make the building as interesting as possible. And how do we find the balance there? That's the problem that we find right now. Look at New York City.
Right.
You see these tall, skinny buildings right now. There's not much shape in them because they're tall and they're skinny and they're maximizing the square footage they have on these small lots. And that's the problem. Huh?
He said overpriced. They're overpriced.
Yeah, they are overpriced. They are overpriced. But I could say that about my homes too, so.
So is everybody competing on who's being taller building right now?
It's not who's the tallest, it's how do you maximize the square footage? You know, that you're only allowed a certain FAR in our floor area ratio per property. And how do you do that? How do you compromise square footage for design? And there's where the conundrum is.
This question's for Ralph. You were speaking of overpriced. Most of the homes that you're building, what kind of financing are they seeing these days? The reason I ask is I'm the CEO of Celestial Fund. We're active in financing spec homes, did over $50 million last year, and I would love to get a crack at some of your clients.
A lot of my clients are cash, believe it or not. So it's a very, I don't know what COVID did. COVID made the rich richer, and all this money came into play, and we were the busiest during COVID. I mean, I didn't understand how we would get work, and yet we became so busy we couldn't handle the work. And the jobs became bigger, and they became cash deals because everybody had all this money. Everybody came into all this money. So how do they finance it? I don't know when they finance it, but I can tell you that a lot of the deals are cash.
Hi, my name is Pina. I wanted to ask you, we have so many brands and regions. Developers are always looking for a new brand to differentiate. Now Villa created a brand. Villa Miami is a new brand creation. What do you think that's gonna go the tendency to differentiate? Because so many brands that are appearing, is enough, or what are the new buyers, the sophisticated buyers looking also to have? Not only luxury, there is something else. What is the tendency? What do you see? I would like everybody to answer me that, please. Thank you. No, so.
Pina, hand it over behind you.
Good evening. My name is. Okay.
We need the answer.
I think. Okay.
So, brands bring people in the door. Okay, there's a recognition with various brands that will bring, from a developer's perspective, that bring people in the door. But at the end of the day, people are still buying. They're partly buying into the brand, but they're buying into the developer. They're buying into the architect. They're buying into the interior designer. They're buying into who the contractor is for the building. All of those things become important, and especially when you're dealing with buyers, the level of sophistication of buyers that we're dealing with, who can virtually buy anything they want anywhere in the world. In some cases, money's no object, like Ralph says. I mean, someone who's buying a house for $100 million, money's no object. It's not his, just remember, the guy who bought the house for $100 million, it's not his only house, okay? He's got 4 or 5 houses, that guy. So, or lady, whoever it is. They can be anywhere in the world, and they're choosing to be in Miami for some reason. So in a way, they're buying into the whole team, that makes up the group. And every one of those people, play an important role, including the brand, right? So like I said, the brand just kind of gets them in the door. And again, everyone is looking, as developers, to differentiate themselves from one project to from one project from another project. So we're all out there, talking to all these different brands. We all come up with these crazy ideas about what we think is a brand that will resonate with, ultimately the end user that we're trying to sell to. I mean, Zaha, that was around an architect. The brand was the architect. With the Villa, MFG, we look at them as a hospitality brand. Not a hospitality brand in the hotel perspective, but a hospitality brand in the F&B perspective. Four Seasons, Mandarin, all of these brands, very well-known hospitality brands. There have been projects here, luxury brands around cars, luxury brands around fashion. They resonate to different groups of people.
I agree with him.
Agree, and I think we work a lot with Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons, and many brands, St. Regis, but we, the personality of a building comes from within the building, your experience, and making an experience that appeals to the people that live there, but in a way that exudes the personality of the brand. I think that's very important. I think one of our projects is the Well project, and that's on its way and along, and I think that's a very interesting new brand that's more of a lifestyle brand. But I think people buy into what they envision themselves, the way they envision themselves living in the property.
It's true, and the most important thing is to have a product, because people are smart, that has good floor plans and good layouts and is efficient for your daily living. We did Palazzo del Sol, we did Palazzo della Luna, now we're doing the 6 residences. And people always said, oh, that's by the ferry, that's the weakest location of Fisher Island. But what was interesting, it sold for the highest price per square foot due to floor plans. It's like us, all of us sitting in this room. Hopefully, God willing, we have a heart, kidneys, lungs, all the same components, all laid out efficiently in our body. But on the outside, we're all different. That's the architecture, that's a design. So that reverts back to the thought. I mean, I have 2 boys, 2 sons. Same mother, hopefully the same father. They're completely different. They're day and night. And that's what you have. I'm sorry, you were going to go next.
Good evening. My name is Virgilia. After 23 years in New York City, I made Miami my home. And my favorite hotel in New York City, and it's one of the most beautiful things I've seen in my entire life, is Baccarat Hotel. So, Will, my question is for my fellow New Yorker, for you. I saw the mock-ups. I'm very curious because the Baccarat brand goes back to 1784, to King's son of France. To what extent do you feel that, considering that Miami is a more novelty city, you will bring the heritage of the brand and also make it unique in the sense that Miami is totally different than the Baccarat in New York City?
So we did a deep dive into the history of Baccarat when we started designing, and we feel like that the way that Baccarat was executed in New York City was really beautifully done. So our challenge was to how to realize that in the tropics. And if you look at the way crystal is made, and especially in the Baccarat factory there outside of Paris, that it almost celebrates the imperfections of the crystal. They save all the pieces that are broken, and they do designs with that, and sort of that's kind of the way life is, right? Where things sparkle, but there's a reality to it. So imagining that brand within the tropics was a natural fit, where it's sunny all the time and it's beautiful. So that's where we drew inspiration.
Hi guys, my name is Maria Flores. I wanted to ask you guys, what does it take for an architect or a designer? Clearly everyone in the room is kind of some type of designer, but I wanted to ask you guys that you've been here in Miami for some time, not trying to be rude, but you have. So what does it take to get that break in, let's say, being an architect? What does it take to get to the other level of where you guys are at right now?
I will start to answer that question. You struggle, and you struggle, and you struggle. And then, if you're lucky enough, and you're blessed, right, you get your big break. There are a lot of architects that are terrific, that's never gotten a break, and you'll never hear of them. A lot of architects aren't so good. They got their big break, and you hear of them. That's the way it is. I was very fortunate to have gotten my big break from a developer that wanted to do the first modern residence, really modern, on Miami Beach. And people picked up from that. And it grew and it grew. And then what happened was really, really strange. After the financial downturn of 2007, 2008, we were making this comeback. All I got was single-family luxury residences to do. My huge break came when I did Alex Rodriguez's, A-Rod's first house on Miami Beach. And that got a tremendous amount of publicity. And then I did his second house, which made the cover of Architectural Digest. And those are huge breaks for me. So I was very lucky. Not only do you have to be, and then to get to the next level, you have to use that luck that has been given to you, and you have to be good, and you have to execute. And once you're good and you execute and you have that luck, it's like a train that won't stop. It keeps going. And that's basically what it takes to get there. Well, yes, that's also a lot. Right, no, you're exactly right, because we live in Miami, that's luck. You know, I bought a condominium unit for a certain price, COVID hit, now it's triple the price. for no reason. And I got very lucky with that. So it's all about timing, where you are, where you live, and take advantage of the breaks that you're given.
So I have one more question. You guys all have, Kobe made his career restoring Art Deco hotels into these beautiful new restorations. Louis is building world-class towers. Ralph is essentially taking skyscraper technology to build single-family homes. And Will, you have a whole new suite of construction technology that you can use to create these interiors. How do the visions continue to change, and how do you continue to push the envelope forward with your knowledge and also have that ability to look into the future?
Maria has my mic. The future is the best. It's much better than the past. No, but seriously, the future is interesting because the next generation is what makes it happen. In our office, there are dozens of people, and they come up with their ideas on a daily basis, and I just sit there and I watch. And as long as people can come up with new ideas and new suggestions, that's a prelude. But the reality is, you need to make a statement each and every time. When you look at the projects that we have done and are doing, they're continuously and repeatedly sell for the highest price per square foot. In Fort Lauderdale, we did the Four Seasons in Fort Lauderdale. People said, oh my God, nobody's gonna buy it there, it's the worst. They were wrong. We did it in Surfside. People said, Surfside, oh my God, it's the armpit of Miami Beach, and it's the butthole of Bell Harbor, they call it. Swear to God, in a hearing. And all I did was, yes, we restore historic buildings. So we said, let's restore the historic building and make that our entrance to the new buildings. And people loved it. People love to hear about the history. It's like meeting somebody. Who's your mother? Who's your father? Where did you come from? And then you expect more from the next generation. Same thing in architecture. Caribbean condominiums, same thing. We use the history for the future. That is what it is about. And I think that if you want to be successful, and if you want to be more powerful in the next generation, study your history, study the history of the community, study the history of where you're building. The buildings we do in El Paso, Texas, are completely different than Miami, completely different than Abu Dhabi or Cape Town, South Africa.
Yeah, so I think that advancement in technology that's happened over the last 15 to 20 years has made a big difference in the way buildings are constructed, not just the way that they're constructed, but also the way that they're designed. I mean, today, the technology that's used by, all the designers and all the engineers is far advanced from when I started out in architecture. I mean, when I started out in architecture, I was at a time when we were just making that transition from drawing everything by hand to doing everything by computers. Still to this day, I don't draw using a computer. I do everything by hand that I do. When I sit and I'm working with architects that I work with, designers that I work with, I do everything by hand still to this day. And people that I meet in like offices like yours or other offices, most of the people who are working today have never drawn by hand, right? So I don't know what the future brings. I don't know what the next technology is. But again, I think that, the future for all of us in the design business and development business is very exciting. And I think the beneficiaries of it are going to be the people who are living and working and operating out of these new buildings that get created over the next decade.
In my case, it's like, look, once you study design, you can design the same way. It's technology that changes architecture. And basically, I rely on my young staff to keep me abreast of technology. They're the ones that guide the office. They're the ones that lead to the future, not me. I still design the plans, I design the exteriors, whatever I do, but leading ourselves into the new technology and what's going on, I'm being taught by my staff. So that's where the youth comes into play.
I think for us, any tool that allows your imagination to be conveyed to someone else is a great tool. But what we've learned is that like hand sketching, knowing how to convey your ideas quickly, that's the best tool of all. So we're going back to the basics. It's all about sketching now. So.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming here tonight.
Thank you so much to our panelists. We really appreciate you guys sharing some of your wisdom and experiences with us. Thank you everyone so much for coming. For those of you who don't know, Dimitri and I are the co-founders and co-CEOs of PROFILEmiami. We are a real estate media and events company. We hope to see you all next week at our Capital Markets event, which is on Wednesday. So go to the website, sign up to get our newsletter, and stay abreast of all of our events, and we hope to see you again soon. Have a great night.